Hello and welcome back to another video. This time we are going to talk about single-use versus multi-use medical device, which is better for the environment, which is better for the economics. My name is Lucas Pinegonda and we have helped over 30 medtech companies to be more sustainable with plastics. And let's get just right into the topic. So single-use versus multi-use, it's not as clear-cut as many people would want you to believe. So if we have, for example, on the left-hand side, we have a syringe that is a simple single-use device. There is not much of a case for multi-use here because reprocessing uses a lot of energy and costs a lot of money. And these things are very easy and very straightforward and with a low environmental footprint to produce. Then if we come to the right-hand side and we see something like a catheter, which is a very complex device, or a endoscope, stuff like that, there it becomes not so clear-cut anymore and single-use might make sense here. So as a rule of thumb, you can say that complexity and cost, as they increase, multi-use might make sense. It's the same like in home use. There is stuff that can be made single use and it makes sense, but nobody will throw away like their drilling machine, or nobody will throw away their car after one use. So we have two factors at play here, and this is what I try to symbolize with these lines here. We have the production costs and the environmental footprint. And for something that is very low cost and low complexity to build, such as a syringe, we have low environmental footprint and low production costs at the beginning. And then reprocessing for such a device uses energy and has a cost associated with it that is greater than rebuilding the device. And at some point, these lines will overlap. And I think a good rule of thumb would be 50 to 150 euros per unit cost. So that is a good rule of thumb where it starts to make sense to process something, because as said, hot steam sterilization is a energy intensive and costly thing. And then if we have something that is extremely expensive, like 2,000, 3,000 euros, it makes sense to reprocess them. So here we have an example of Vanguard that does reprocessing for very complex catheters, cleans them, re-sterilizes them, tests them, and brings them to market under their own name. So single-use devices are under the critique of increasing the hospital waste, which is certainly the case since they are disposable. But we have to ask ourselves, firstly, why did these single-use devices become so popular? So number one reason for them being so popular is the convenience. It is very easy and very straightforward to calculate as a hospital how these devices will be used. It is very easy. You just open the package, you use it, you throw it away. So the logistics of it is very simple. And I've seen studies that have shown that single-use medical devices can save 10 to 15 to even 20% of the time in an OR, which in an OR setting, time is money. You can you can help more patients, you can have more operations, and it is just very simple and straightforward to use. Then secondly, the fear of cross-contamination. So there is the fear that if you have a multi-use medical device, that you cross-contaminate from one patient to the other. And that is also the reason why said practice of Vanguard is under critique, because let's say those who critique the remanufacturing of said catheters would say that there's a contamination risk and that the patients are put at risk by doing this. Then as I said before, it's not only the convenience, but also time pressure. Since we have a shortage of staff, we need to make more operations with the same amount of staff, and therefore we have time pressure, and every minute counts basically. And you do not simply have to deal with the logistics or the repair of multi-use medical devices. So if you have, you plan 5 procedures that all use multi-use device. You have to have 5 multi-use devices. If one breaks, you have to push a patient, so the logistics are important. That's why single-use devices have become so popular. They are easy to use, they're convenient, you have no cross-contamination, and they save you time. So there is the reason why they are used so much, and even it is not very clear that they have to increase the environmental footprint. So it's very, very case specific, and you should calculate with an LCA if a single-use or a multi-use medical device makes sense in your case. Then, what can we do instead? A very novel, interesting case or concept would be a hybrid use device, which is a reusable core where, for example, the electronics, the drive, all the intelligence, the smartness of a device is reusable. And then we have a single-use sterile consumable like a drape or like a cover, or the tip where the patient contact and the main contamination takes place. So, for example, as I said, reusable electronics and batteries, and then a disposable stapler tip. We're going to see an example of, I think it was Medtronic in the next slide. And this simplifies re-sterilization. It brings down the, let's say, fear of contamination, because the contaminated part is thrown away and is, let's say, disposed of and is waste. And that will cut the waste that you actually are throwing away. And all the valuable materials are in the electronics, are in the smartness of the device. There's a lot of CO2 impact and also the cost. So you can bring down cost per operation down. And there's just some things that we have to consider when we're designing this. So it has to be very intuitive. It doesn't have to cost time. It needs to be contamination safe, because else they're going to use single-use medical devices. And they are best used in a high-value smart device setting, such as these surgical tools that I'm just going to show you. So we have an exemplar stapler here that has a disposable tip and a smart device at the end. So this device helps you with feedback before and during stapling, which leads to a better performance. So Medtronic claims, and they reduce the waste by 62%, which is quite impressive, I would say. And especially since this stapler tip is probably easier to recycle than all the electronics in there. So that was basically it. That was my take on multi-use versus single-use devices, and maybe we can merge them together and have the advantages of both the environmental impact and the waste reduction of multi-use devices, the convenience, the safety, and of course the performance of single-use devices. Okay, so if you are a medtech company and you want to design your devices for more sustainability, there's a link in the description for you. I don't care if you really click it. I think these videos are here to deliver value to you for free. And if you want me to help you further, just click the link in the description and we can hopefully meet. So if you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe, because YouTube will show you more content like this, and YouTube likes to show you content that you actually enjoy. Therefore, if you like, comment, and subscribe, the algorithm knows what you actually like. Then, if you want to request a video or ask a question, just write a comment. I will read all the comments and I will try to bring you the videos that you want to you. So, thank you very much for watching and have a very good one.